All right. We got Marcus Coleman. Marcus,
Yo,
how are you?
doing good. How you doing?
All right. I'd like to start you off real quick. What made you pick Texas Tech?
It was, it was pretty close to home, and during that time when I was coming out, most of my classmates were either going to Texas or going to Texas A&M, and I'm one of those guys where I would rather go somewhere and start something new and create something new and help establish or either revive or bring a program back around. And myself and Zach Thomas and Jerome McKinley, Anthony Armour, some of those guys we were all coming out at the same time. We all talked about that, and also it was close to Dallas. It was only 5 or 6 hours away. So the combination of those two things was the main reason why I picked Tech.
Marcus, Frank here, and in light of, I want to bring up Terrell Owens, how he's it looks like he's broke. Allen Iverson yesterday, his funds are being frozen. As a professional athlete, and when the career is over, what have you done to keep money coming in? And are you in better shape than they are?
Yeah, I mean, you have to do things where you set things aside, or find other business ventures to get into. Some guys do real estate, some guys do go into coaching. I'm doing radio and in the energy business. It's just kind of, you have to figure out what it is that you want to do at that particular time and in the future, and try to map it out. And even if you do think you have it figured out, you still come back to a point where you may not necessarily want to do that, and you may reinvent yourself again. So because of being a football player doesn't mean that you're not intelligent enough, or you haven't been insightful enough to look at your future. You do have to figure out something else that gives you the same drive and challenge mentally and physically, because playing any professional sports is a different kind of challenge, and it's an adrenaline rush, and it's always a challenge, day in and day out. So you have to have that same drive or that same challenge, once you get out in the real world. And I think that, a lot of guys, some guys are just comfortable, with coaching and doing that lifestyle. Some guys do like the fast-paced lifestyle of being in business, like the challenge of either starting businesses or reinventing businesses, or, being a part of that world. So it all depends on the individual, and it's a lot different for everybody.
All right, so what do you say to a guy like Mark Brunell, who still has to pay or still has to play, and is pretty much, the guy is pretty broke, it seems, or at least that's what the report says. And I don't remember the name of that.
Well, yeah. And the thing about those reports, you can't always buy into that. And the reason why I say that, because anytime that really comes out, you never know the whole story, one, and then two, of course, that's going to be the front headline that that person is going through that situation and they don't have anything, which is probably 90% of the time not even the case. And I mean, specifically like Mark Brunell's case, from what I understand and what I've read and asked, his that fell part of that of the issue that what everybody's talking about is directly linked to business that he had. It has nothing to do necessarily with personal. I'm sure he put some of his personal, assets into the business, but not all. And the business is what failed, not he himself. So I think just blurting that line out there like that without knowing the whole story, and nobody really, you're not being told by them that this is the case, and I'm down to zero, and not knowing the whole situation, I don't necessarily buy into that, because that's never really the case when it comes out.
All right, listen, I gotta apologize. I have no idea how we started talking about this. Let's talk about.
Well, listen, it's becoming more and more popular that professional athletes are losing money or not having money when they retire, and Terrell Owens, arguably a superstar, should have some money to retire with. And I was wondering, how a guy does it. What
I
what
just
do you
wanted
do?
to, like, I'm sure this guy thought.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably thinks I'm a jerk.
Yeah, we're gonna come on and talk about football.
I know, but all right, just to I guess give you the deal on that. A lot of guys when it's coming in, I mean, you do get a lot of extravagant things. You do, some people do buy a lot of different things, whether it be houses or cars or or spend lavishly or whatever it is. And the thing is when if you don't set anything aside or invest in something that's going to be profitable in the future, then once you're done, you don't have the same income coming in as you did before. So of course you're going to be losing a lot of money at that particular time until you address it. If you take Terrell Owens' case, I'm sure. I mean, I read that he got into a bad business deal, which I understand. But I mean, he has 3 or 4 houses, or which that I completely don't understand. I would say that is his fault and his advisor's fault. But he always figures that he's going to continue playing football probably until the day he dies, and that mentality is bad to have because at some point it ends for everybody, and it doesn't always end the way everybody wants it to. 95% of the time, anybody that retires from the game of football you never end on your own terms. So you have to, when you think it's getting close or you're getting up there in years, you have to look at that. Okay, well, I need to scale my lifestyle back a bit, or at least invest in something that's going to give me the same lifestyle. So once I get out, then I'm not readjusting and losing money until I get that fixed. So that's normally what happens, and that's what T.O. is going through right now.
All right, Marcus. In 2002, you get taken by the Houston Texans in the expansion draft. That brings you back home. Were you happy about that? Were you upset that it's Houston?
No, I was happy about it. I thought it was it was a challenge. It was a great challenge to come back and start a new help be a part of a franchise and build and set the foundation for the city of Houston and for a Houston football team that's now, as we see, has gotten better over the years. They got to the playoffs this year, and hopefully they get further next year. And I was happy to come back home, be back in Texas, play in front of the family and the friends, and I enjoyed every bit of it. It was good being back and good seeing old people and getting to play with some people that I'd already either played against or played with prior to getting to Houston. And I thought it was great. I was more happy for the city of Houston that they got a football team back, and Mr. McNair did a great job of putting that together, putting his team together to make that happen. Everybody was sour when the Oilers left and went to Tennessee, and hopefully they can get the same success that the Oilers had or even more from here on out.
All right, so you went to Houston, you went to Dallas for a year. I know that you played for the Jets. And I know that you played for Bill Parcells both times.
Right.
Was he different at all in Dallas than he was in New York?
No. He no. The one thing about Bill's the same guy. You're gonna get, you get super competitive, straight to the point. Very intelligent as far as managing the game, knowing how to use players, knowing what kind of players to get. As far as the emotional aspect of it, being fiery, getting upset. He may call you a few names. At the same time, he'll love you the same way. And he, was always fair, I thought, to everybody. So he was no different in Dallas than he was in New York by any means.
Marcus, now, from what I'm told, there's a big game this weekend. Who you got?
Man, it's tough. You know what? Maybe I'm biased just because I played for Belichick. However, that whole tree, Coach Coughlin is part of the Parcells tree per se, in itself. But I think that this game would be different from the game that they played earlier. I know that New England, we all know that New England has an explosive offense. They played a little bit better on defense. We know defensively the Giants are far better than New England defensively, and their front four is one of the best in the league. But I look at it from more, a lot of people are picking the Giants. I'm leaning New England's way just because I think that there are a few things that New England may do especially offensively against the Giants, that they didn't do the first. Like there's probably going to be a little more shotgun, maybe a little more no huddle, and I think what that'll do is it'll take the Giants out of some of the doubling that they did in the first game. If you go back and look at the first game in the secondary, Giants, well, defensively, they didn't rush a lot of people or blitz a lot of people. They rushed their front four, and they disguised, some of those blitzes or sugar, as we called it, and they would come off and whether it be double Wes Welker or double Gronkowski or double Hernandez. And I think New England's going to spread it out and make them tip their hand to what it is they're doing to make it a lot easier for them offensively. Defensively, New England's, going to be in a little bit of trouble. I don't know how they're going to match up with Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz and be able to stop the run again. That's going to be hard. Although Vince Wilfork is playing a lot better, I think you may see a little more. You may not see as much 4-3 as you did during the year. Some more hybrid. You're probably going to see some more 3-4. It's a little more. Belichick's 3-4, the way he plays is a little more stout against the run, which will help him out in the passing game as well. So, for those reasons, is why I'm taking New England.
But do you think that the turf would help New England's defense maybe get that extra step or that offensive line get that extra step that they don't have on that defense?
No, not really,
and
because
vice versa.
Because if if they're going to be faster, then the defensive line is going to be faster. So it's a wash. Everybody gets faster on field turf. So I don't think that'll make that much of a difference. Where I do think it may make a little bit of a difference is for running backs and for the skilled players, wide receivers, they can get in and out of their cuts a little quicker. Running backs can maybe, whether it be cutting backside or hitting the hole a little bit faster, they can stick their foot in the ground with necessarily no give and explode a little better and get out of their cuts quicker. That would be the only advantage that I would give to both of those teams.
Marcus, if I'm right, you never got to play in the playoffs. Am I correct?
No. I played in '99
with the Jets.
With the Jets. Yeah, we went to the FC Championship game against Denver. That was the first year that John Elway and won his first Super Bowl. The next year after that, we went to the playoffs with Coach Al Grove, and we lost to Baltimore in 2000. That was the year they went to the Super Bowl and won. And then the next year when Herm Edwards came in, we lost to the Raiders. Which that was the year that they went deep into the playoffs and I think they won. I think they went to the Super Bowl.
Damn, I like that Dane Cook movie
with Gruden. Yeah. So.
Do you still watch the Super Bowl and stuff like that, or does it bother you when you think, damn, I was so close to getting to a Super Bowl? Do you think? I've heard so many people this week or in the last couple weeks say, I haven't watched a Super Bowl that I was in because we lost or this and that. Do you still watch them?
Yeah, I still watch them. I don't. I look at it as, even though it hurts, just knowing that, we got so close to going to the Super Bowl, and I've been in the AFC Championship game, and you get those opportunities. I look at it as it's still an opportunity that a lot of guys don't get to go through or get to see while they're playing. A lot of guys don't get to go to the playoffs at all. They get to kill Spike. He's never been to the playoffs as long as he's been in the NFL. So